Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Well-Versed. I'm your host, Jazzy Cho, and today we will be learning with Kainoa Henry, the Chief Strategy Officer at Faze Clan. Kai is at the forefront of this paradigm shift we are witnessing with esports, lifestyle culture, media, and Web3 tech, all converging as we enter this new era. So how is he bringing it all together? What if I told you it's all about cultivating genuine relationships with good hearts? Kai's story is a living testament to this. Kainoa Henry, welcome to the show. What's going on?
Thank you. Nothing much. We've been playing tag, so I apologize. I've been traveling and trying to figure out my life. So thank you for being patient with me.
No, thank you for your time. I have been seeing you traveling nonstop. So I've been curious to know how you're taking care of your health and your well-being, within your hectic schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I'm working on. My mom's on my head. My mom's been calling me, making sure, I'm eating right, I'm sleeping right. I lie to her sometimes, just to just so she's not worried. But yeah, I mean, it's a balance. For me, it's just like someone that loves information and knowledge, and like I'm so addicted to culture and just, what I mean, people in a certain way. Like there's the aspect of like work, and then there's my life, and I'm just fortunate enough for those two things to like really, really overlap it more than for other people. And so as far as my mental health and my health, like I'm in the best place I could be at right now, but just, the traveling takes a lot out of you, and you can't be everywhere at once, and you know what I mean? So then there's a little bit of FOMO and stuff. So yeah, just staying on top of that, trying to work out a little bit, try to run.
You love where you are working, and it's like aligning with what your interests are. And so that's good to hear.
Yeah. I mean, every day I wake up, I'm like, just have fun doing this. It should be fun. Not just on the Web3 side, but just like everything I'm doing in my career. And I love being around just like talented, gifted, good-hearted people. So I'm fortunate.
Yes. All right, Kai. So let's kick things off with learning more about where it all began. You originally studied engineering at West Point, but decided to pivot. What led you to start your career in music management?
I mean, that's a really eloquent way of putting what happened. I was an athlete. I played football, in high school, and I had a few other options as far as like what school I wanted to go to, more like mainstream Division I colleges. And ultimately what happened was my dad stepped in on my last trip that I took to West Point, and he, I wouldn't say guilted me, but let's just say like, it was the first time I ever seen my dad shed a tear. He was really proud of me. And so like, it just, I don't know, I was like a 17-year-old like kid, and I just was like, okay, cool. You want me to go here? I'll go here. So it wasn't like a huge decision I made where I wanted to necessarily, there's nothing against West Point, because I enjoyed my time there, and I made lifelong friends there, you know what I mean? And it taught me a lot about leadership. I was there for over a year, and then I just decided to take my education back home, you know what I mean? Go back to San Diego from West Point. I ended up a year later dropping out of school in San Diego. So I think for me at that time, I really understood that like I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to start learning faster. I never regretted it,
I relate to that sentiment where, your parents reacted in a certain way to certain accomplishments, and you want to live up to, what makes them happy. But ultimately you had to choose what made you happy. How did you deal with that, I guess, stress and pressure and just going against making your parents happy at the moment?
It was tough. It was tough on me and my dad's relationship. He wanted me to play football in the NFL, and I've got an athletic family, professional football. So me being his first son, his thoughts on where he wanted me to be at that point in time, yeah, I think it was, I wouldn't say disappointing, but it was definitely like a paradigm shift for him. When you have the right kind of attitude about things you want to do, like it just, it's uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for me, but I made it work. And me and his relationship really got better and healthier 5-6 years later, when he saw what I really was envisioning for myself. And it was good.
It all worked out. And now we're here.
Now we're here, yeah.
So what led you to start your career in music management?
Okay, this might be a little bit long-winded because it's a bit of a story, but I had no intentions of being in the music business at all whatsoever. Never thought about it, never dreamt of it, didn't care. My mom she was in the TV and film industry. She did visual effects. I was kind of bit by the bug on the creative side of like wanting to direct film and TV, and music was a huge part of my life at that time. I wanted to take those two things, combine that as far as what I wanted to do in my career. So I set out to be like a music video director with no money and no knowledge. I was trying to figure out ways I can get onto set. I left San Diego, moved to LA, and I just instantly started going to all these production houses that did music videos and commercials and trying to just like wash dishes. I would go to the biggest production houses and just like walk inside and like, now that I think back on it, it was trespassing, but like I would go sit in the lobby and try and like, you know what I mean? Try and meet people and like,
Oh, wow.
I would just sit there and sometimes people walk by, they say hi to me. I'm like, hey, what's going on? I found this one place, I won't name it. It was in Santa Monica. I walked inside and I just kind of acted as if I worked there. My first mentor, guy Dion, AKA Rockstar. I mean, he was like a first AD. He was prepping for some music video. And like this guy was wearing like Dickie shorts and like, you know, a walkie-talkie on and stuff. And so I'm like looking, I'm like, what's up? And he's like, what's up? And then we just started talking, right? He was like, what do you want to get into? What are you doing? Do you work here? And I'm like, actually, I don't work here. Like, I just trying to get a job. So long story short, he recruited me to be a PA for him on set for some music videos. And I loved it. What I found about myself was like, when I'm put in those positions, I just throw myself at it. You know what I mean? I only have like one gear when I'm interested and inspired. And like, I just became like the best PA in the world. You know, one day I was on a music video for Snoop Dogg. It was like a 6 a.m. call time. And I remember hearing over the walkie that like, basically our second AD got fired at like right away, like the first 10 minutes into this shoot. And so production asked me to step in and go get Snoop ready and work with him. And let's just say Snoop wasn't in the best mood that morning. The way, you know, I handle things just really stood out to him as far as the way I managed him that morning. As a young person and human, I have respect for myself in a way where I will run through any wall for people I think are gifted and talented, but I also demand a certain level of respect. And so we had an interesting conversation that morning, and I think it just stood out to him. And he was just like, I like you. You know what I mean? He introduced me to his manager and my second mentor, so to speak, Constance Schwartz, who is to today my mentor and my big sis and just a rock star, business genius and entertainment mind. She asked me to come meet her at her office, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, no way does Snoop Dogg have this like 5'5" curly haired woman as his manager. Like, never judge a book by its cover, but it was just like, she's a boss. You know what I mean? I quickly knew why she was his manager. But then yeah, ultimately she invited me to her office. Just turned 24. I walked into an office in Beverly Hills. Never been in like a agency or a management company like that. And they sit me down in front of her desk. She's just like going in on this phone call and big old glass. She's like staring through me. And I'm like sitting in the chair. I'm like, is she looking at me? Or like, you know, it's just like a really awkward time. And I was nervous. I was sweating through my shirt. And she offered me a job. She offered me to co-manage Snoop with her. She told me that there's a lot of people at that company at the time that, you know, went to school for business, understood music marketing, came up from the mailroom, and they're trying, and they want to be a manager at a company like that. But she just told me, she was like, look, I can't teach a lot of people that came up that way how to deal with talent. They know all the business. They know what they should know, but dealing with talent is a talent. So she told me, and she was like, I could teach you the business. I told her she was crazy. And then I ended up signing a deal, and she gave me my first shot. Second day, I'm in a meeting with like Jimmy Iovine and like Ron Fair. And, you know, and she just walked in, introduced me as Snoop's manager, that I co-managed Snoop with her. And I knew nothing. I didn't know anything. So yeah, she just put me in the game on that level, and I'll forever be grateful to her, because that was really where I cut my teeth as far as like business and branding, and that's my start.
Wow, what an awesome story.
Long, my bad. You're gonna have to get the editing machine out and
No, I want to keep all of that. What am I supposed to edit out from there? You know, I think your story alone really shows, especially within entertainment media, that relationships is so much more important, and how you cultivate those relationships and like the heart-to-heart connection you have with people within the industry, you know, more than the skills, because you're right, you can always learn the skills on the job and they can always teach you.
Yeah, no, my mama blessed me.
Following your career in music management, you branched out to become an entrepreneur with your expertise in lifestyle branding and strategy. What inspired you to embark on this part of your journey?
The perspective of being in the music business at a high level at the youngest age, where I could see things coming that a lot of my peers at that level didn't see or want to see. I would say mostly not want to see, you know what I mean? Because your business is healthy and you're still making tons of money. And, yeah, sure, we're down 10%. And then, oh, no, sure, we're down 30%. Sure, we're down 50%. And it's a slow bleed to innovation. I think brands are going to start paying for music. I think digital media and platforms are going to start converging. I think as managers and as labels, we're going to have to start looking at music publishing. We're going to have to start managing DJs. Today sounds like just life, but 2006, 2007, that wasn't life, So
Right.
When YouTube came out, I was obsessed. At that time, I was doing a lot of business with and vision planning with like other young creatives, DJ SKEE being one of them. He wanted me to manage him. And I thought he was like a cool ass Ryan Seacrest, this white kid from Minnesota that like had street cred. You could be big, you know what I mean? So started SKEE TV as like a lifestyle platform on YouTube. And I introduced it to my management company I was at. And I was like, hey, I want to be a partner in this. I've been building this over here. I want to start doing music publishing, DJs, YouTube. It just wasn't in the interest of the company at that time, which was cool. But once they didn't see it as something that was an asset, I decided to fully shift over as an entrepreneur.
It seems you've always had this eye for innovation. And now in this current chapter of your journey, you're leading Faze Clan as the Chief Strategy Officer. Tell us more about the company and why you decided to join the Faze family.
For a whole nother business unrelated, I was doing some exploratory trips to China, just meeting with like a lot of the like lifestyle agencies and brands there, some media companies, like forgive my pronunciation, but like I was meeting with iQIYI, Tencent. I made this trip to Kunming for a music festival. I got there and it just kind of blew my mind. Like, just like being in another country and just like absorbing like different cultures and different variations and degrees of like things you already know, like a music festival. I'm sitting there and we got one stage on one side and it's just a music stage. You've got another area on the other side. And this place is massive. I mean, there's probably 50, 60,000 people there. One area is basketball, right? So there was like sports, music, and then there was another stage with League of Legends. It was esports, the gathering of people to watch video games on that level. I had just never seen that before. It was just, it was as big as any of the other stages. A year later, I was just doing like a routine kind of check-in with one of my friends, Lee Trink, who was a partner back in the day in one of the management companies I was at. And he asked me if I had ever heard of Faze Clan. It was like 5 years ago. And I'm like, nope, never heard of it, and he showed it to me and he's like, it's like, video games, like, people go to arenas to watch people play video games. And I'm like, actually, yeah, I've seen that in China. I don't know what it is. I have no clue what it is, but you're onto something. You know what I mean? And then it just became like, I'd always checked in with him. He started growing the business for Faze Clan. I'd coming in and out as like a consultant, and I was really intrigued by how music plays a part in this. Then I had to go start another business with Snoop, about 2 years ago. I was really looking at what he was doing with the business and kind of stepping back and going, okay, here's a company and a brand first just speaks to me. Really seeing that there's multiple businesses and pots that surround the nucleus of Faze Clan. Just so happens that I've been a business owner in each one of those pots. When I was doing all these things, fashion brands, consumer electronics, content companies, like people thought that was a little ADD as far as like where my head was at. Fast forward to now, it's like these things have converged and they're starting to like congeal around really unique and special brands like Faze Clan. I pretty much nominated myself to come into Faze Clan. I don't think they wanted me there. Yeah, I went after it because I just knew that I wanted to extend my own career and my own vision and link with the next generation of like really gifted creators. And I love video games. I love merch. I love content. I love music. I told them, I said, hey, you're scaling, you're raising money. This is blowing up for you. I think you need someone that can kind of help you balance the ship as far as culture and commerce.
For those who might not be familiar, tell us what Faze Clan is.
Faze Clan is the biggest gaming, esports, entertainment, lifestyle company, I think, in the world. Just for some context, 11 years ago, founders of the brand Faze, they all met as just players in Call of Duty on Xbox, and they had never met each other in real life. A year into their relationship online, they started to think we might as well live together and get a house together and start, playing games. And they started making these clips, these like montages of like highlights of them doing trick shots on Call of Duty, and started uploading it to YouTube, and those videos started skyrocketing. They're picking cool music for it. So it really became almost like, in my mind, the music videos for video games at that time. Ultimately, they started turning the camera on themselves and making their own challenge videos and prank videos and stuff like that in the house. And so that, really was the first time you saw gaming and influencer culture just kind of melded together. That brand grew, and there was the esports side, which is the pro gaming side of it. And then there's the gaming lifestyle side of Faze, right? Which is content creators, amateur gaming, many crossovers into multiple cultures, music, fashion, sports, right? And so the brands just exploded. And I think that for me, it was so close to home as far as like how I felt like it correlated to hip hop, honestly. Really have their community and their audience follow them to go from like college and high school kids that were just like kind of like renegades in a way, really having that like connection to like youth culture in a way where people felt like, oh, that could be me. You know what I mean? Like you're looking at something that reflects where you are in your life right now, and then creating the aspiration of, oh, wow, this team, this squad, these creators, they made it. They became rock stars, right? And so whenever you can be a part of the journey of that kind of trajectory, it like just cements the kind of fandom and community.
Yeah, and I think right now is such an interesting time where we're at this intersection. We see tech, media, like esports, like culture, lifestyle, merchandise, everything is just coming together. It's crazy.
It's overwhelming in the greatest way. Thing that's happened over the last couple of years is the real delineation between esports and gaming. And I think that's what I think we're on the mission to really push the boundaries of gaming and define what gaming means. Because to me, video games is like the glue between 1,000 cultures. It's similar to what rock and roll was in the 80s, hip hop was in the 90s. Yeah, I think the culture of those things, right? The culture behind like what rock and roll was in the 80s, what those brands and bands meant then, right? Same thing with hip hop in the 90s, like that permeated outside of the music into streetwear, the cars they're driving, the lifestyle aspect of it. So I truly believe gaming is in that level as far as impact on culture.
And now Faze has joined hands with Moonpay as the official crypto and NFT partner. And the first use case of the Web3 tech will be through the new digital goods business, Faze Forever. First, why did the organization choose to work with Moonpay?
We chose to work with Moonpay because we understood our community, gaming community as a whole, and influencer communities were subject to certain things happening in this space that were, rug pulls and people promoting shit coins and stuff like that, right? Knowing that about our community, we wanted to make sure that before we roll out a business, before we roll out any program, we are aligning ourselves with best in class when it comes to transactional safety. I met Ivan, the CEO of Moonpay, through Faze. Actually, he's an investor in Faze. We were thinking about what companies are could we align with. After meeting Ivan, I think he's a rock star. I think he's talent. There's many versions of talent. I just think he's just gifted. And instead of announcing some collaboration or partnership or pass that gives you access to our blah, 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 like, let's make sure we signaling that we're in this for the long run and we care about our community's safety in this space before we create products and make moves.
And what's your vision for Faze, and how do you project this partnership will enhance the organization's existing business model?
I would say that what I would love to see Faze do in the future is commit itself to reinvention. Faze Forever was a concept before I got to Faze, and we used it in a few different ways, but it just really stuck with me the first time I ever heard it, especially in context of Web3 and thinking about what your brand and product offering and community engagement looks like 100 years plus from now. It's permanency through blockchain. Faze committing itself to being the ultimate home for creators and creatives. My main fear is always being that big, huge company that it takes 10 years, and sorry to speak on the music business this way, but this is just where I come from, 10 years for you to pivot and innovate in a certain way, because again, like I said, it's just that slow bleed to innovation. At least be prepared. That's the main thing. Like making moves and making drastic decisions with your business and brand, that's hard, you know what I mean? But like being prepared is actually not that hard. And the first step is making sure, you're not in constant denial about what your business and brand is on a grand level. Being a brand that stands 100, 200 years from now. And I know that sounds crazy, but you have a lot of luxury brands and luxury fashion houses that have that kind of, and just blue chip Fortune 100 companies that have been around forever have that understanding and thought process.
You mentioned in a Women's Wear Daily article that you plan to brand Faze alongside luxury brands. I would love to learn more about what you have in mind, because we definitely are seeing, collabs like Balenciaga with Fortnite and Louis Vuitton with League of Legends. So it has been cool to see this merge of fashion and esports.
Yeah. For us, we're an aspirational brand. Right. And I think like in gaming, 11 years, that's a heritage brand already. So I believe we're a heritage brand in this space. And so when I think about collaborations, I think about what other heritage brands can you align yourself to create the ultimate like opportunity in the middle between generations, between aesthetic, i.e. when we did Sports Illustrated. And one of the first things when I came into Faze, I had a relationship with a company that owns Sports Illustrated and just kind of put it out there like, hey, I would love to pitch you a concept on having gamers that are also athletes, like traditional athletes, be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And so Sports Illustrated is a traditional sports publication that, I would like to think like my dad and my grandpa know about those things, right? That they don't know really about gaming culture, but they know Sports Illustrated. Right. And then if you ask anyone that's more gaming culture leaning at that point, they're still learning about Sports Illustrated. Right. So when you take those two things and you put them together, it's pretty explosive if you create the right storylines. Right. And so that's where my fascination with luxury brands and our brand being aligned with them comes from. Stories that are rooted in heritage, just in two different ways, and combining those.
Beyond Faze, tell us how you were introduced into the Web3 space.
I stumbled on blockchain technology 2017. I was launching a sports business and I wanted to do digital trading cards, not blockchain, just digital form of trading cards. In my research, first thing I stumbled upon was CryptoKitties. Reached out to them, met with a couple people that were there. They explained to me blockchain technology and how CryptoKitties work, and it just blew my head off my shoulders. I was stuck. You know what I mean? And so then I started meeting with other companies, more gaming companies, actually. This is before Faze or anything. I was meeting with gaming companies that were making blockchain-based games, selling skins for $15,000 in crypto. The word NFT wasn't around then in that way. So it was just like blockchain-based games and skins, right? Immediately, I started calling some of my street art friends and telling them, hey, I think you could use this blockchain technology to put art in, right? So me and one of my really good friends, Thank You X, at that time, started buying all these really funny Web 2 domains, like crypto. I think we bought like blockchain, crypto streetart.com, blockchain street art. Like we just wanted to do like an AR art gallery back then, and nothing came of it. Like we then started doing other stuff and like just kind of like went away. And then when I came into Faze like 2020, me and Thank You X, we always like have a coffee every now and then. And he's like, hey, there's a platform doing what we were talking about. That's pretty dope. You should see it. So he showed me Nifty Gateway. He's showing me all the drops they were doing on Nifty. And then he was like, I think I'm going to do something. And I'm like, oh, that's dope. And he ended up blowing up and becoming who he is. He's just one of the greatest people I know, and, a real community leader in Web3. It gave me a little bit more credibility in moving around in this space. It helps when you have someone like Ryan, like Thank You X, saying, hey, Kai was a part of this journey with me. He actually showed me blockchain, years ago. And yeah, just kind of stemmed from there. And when I got into Faze, it's all I was like, digital goods, a whole nother business for Faze. When you think about gamers and gaming, people have been buying digital goods for over a decade, just in a closed ecosystem that already exists for gamers. So it's just about finding out how that makes sense in a decentralized way for Web3.
Some people are still saying that NFTs are a fad. It's all a hype. As a lifestyle branding expert who's probably seen so many trends come and go, what are your thoughts on this sentiment?
It's hard to imagine digital goods not being a part of the future in a mainstream way. I think that's the way I think about it, right? I don't think about fads in that way. I just look at the equation around thing in question. I think Facebook changing their name to Meta is a good indicator that this is not bad, right?
It's not. You're right. If
Yeah.
Meta's changing their name, we're up to something here.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. There's something going on. Buying digital goods for over a decade in games is not a fad. That's actually a multi-billion dollar industry. The forms in which NFTs are being sold and where and what, are there fads as far as projects and things like that that'll come? Yeah, I think so. You know what I mean? But overall, in general, digital goods, Web3, permanency and blockchain, rights management, royalties for artists and creators, that's not a fad, that's power. Now it's about how all the multiple segmented mechanisms in Web3 can congeal, come together to make a seamless experience for people in general. I think the main thing we're waiting for now, but I don't see it as a fad at all.
And Kai, what does success mean to you?
I know this sounds corny, but really putting a dent in the universe. I think Steve Jobs said, but that's really how I feel like when I'm thinking about things, like pushing culture, pushing the concept of what is achievable and what isn't, pushing those boundaries, that's success to me whenever you get the sense of accomplishing that. So I don't think there's one success point at the horizon. Success to me is the process. If you're achieving those things in that process and you're pushing boundaries and you're defining, redefining, innovating, in a cultural way, that's success for me.
So more about that journey rather than a destination.
For sure. For sure.
Well, Kai, time flew speaking to you today. I had so much fun.
Thank you for this.
And I really look forward to seeing how this intersection of media, esports, and Web3 will play out and how you'll be at the forefront of spearheading it all.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Well Versed. If you enjoyed learning with me today, please make sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, and let's continue this journey together. Hope you have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next one.